Also, do not make any exception for those servants of gods and servants of tin gods, as well as those godlinesses religions, and sub-godlinesses sex cults, with whom you have entered into an agreement credo, because they were in their entirety connected to the lie against the truth, and they slander, calumniate the fertilization of life creation, by praying and supplicating to gods and tin gods, which are however nothing more than hazy pictures, fantasies, of people of your kind, human beings, who have fallen into confusion in their inner world consciousness. Do not heed the agreement credo, entered into, because it is without value and is based on confused directives, regulations, of godly religious, belief-oriented zealots, fanatics. But consider that even the servants of gods and servants of tin gods are people of your kind, human beings, and therefore also they are not safe, protected from misunderstanding and confusion. Therefore they pray to gods and tin gods and spend their existence life in belief assumptions in them, and because they are also people of your kind, human beings, treat them as such and do not persecute, seize or kill, murder them. Rather be kind-hearted to them and instruct, teach them the truth wherever you meet them. Therefore do not wait in ambush for them and do not establish any ambuscade against them. Rather instruct, teach them rightfully and in love, so that they may recognize, see, their knowledgeness of the truth and repent, so they turn to the real truth of the fertilization of life creation and its laws and recommendations, and become free for the path to the real truth. And if a servant of gods or servant of tin gods seeks protection amongst you, then grant him commensurate protection, and, if he is willing, instruct, teach him in the teaching of truth, the teaching of spirit, the teaching of life, and grant him protection and provision, nourishment, until he can once again safely continue on his way and reach the places of his safety, homestead, etc., without danger. And consider, there can never be an agreement arrangement between yourselves and the gods and tin gods, because they are only hazy pictures, fantasies, and without power, without knowledge, without love, and without wisdom, and therefore, for the same reasons, there can also be no agreement arrangement between gods, tin gods, and servants of gods and servants of tin gods. And thus if the servants of gods and servants of tin gods nevertheless claim that they have an agreement arrangement, then they are shameful, disgraceful, liars and knowing, conscious, manipulators, cheaters, miserable ones, rascals, and Henoch and riffraff. And even if the servants of gods and servants of tin gods prevail over you through agreements, credos, then there is nevertheless no bond connection between them and you, neither any blood relationship, nor do they heed any agreement made with you, any connection of belief, because they believe themselves to be superior to you. Truly, they think they are more than you, and therefore they only say pleasing things to you with their mouths, whereas their attitude, mentality, refuses to set themselves equal with you, because truly most of them are full of malice. The servants of gods and servants of tin gods sell you for a miserable price in order to multiply their riches through you and to lead you into the misunderstanding of belief assumptions, false signs, evidence, testimonies, vows, confessions, of the godly religious belief assumptions, and of the fabulated, invented gods and tin gods, so that you turn away from the path of the truth, and so they can repugnantly enslave you, make you enthrall to them. Truly, they do not heed any bond connection of belief with you, and therefore they do not maintain any faithfulness in a bond, because they only heed their own false belief assumptions, and are true misdoers against you, because they lead you into evil misunderstanding through false teachings. They practice their submissive service to gods and tin gods and lie that they are your brothers and sisters, and they give you false signs, evidence, testimonies, vows, confessions, of their belief assumptions, so that you assume, believe, that they are signs, evidence, of the truth, and yet everything is mere lies, slanders, calumnies, and cheating. And if you ask them about their agreement credo, and about their oath, and you approach their belief assumptions, in an objective neutral way, then they assume themselves attacked, accused, and fight battle against you as self-appointed leaders and representation of their belief assumption, and of their gods and tin gods, and accuse blame you of unbelief, because truly they have no respect venerability towards you, because you do not stray from the truth. And many amongst them violate the rights and offend against the laws and recommendations of the primal power creation, because they secretly commit infants in libidity sexually, on children and on man and woman, and it is the servants of gods and servants of tin gods with who are in dispute against the truthfulness of the teaching of truth, the teaching of spirit, the teaching of life, and want to drive those away from it who live in constancy, unity, coalescence with it. But do not be afraid of them, because they do not have any might over you if you do not give it to them. Because consider that if you are ones who are knowing of the truth, then you stand above all fear with your dignity. However, do not fight against the servants of gods and servants of tin gods through strife or through punishment from your own hand. Rather let them be lost in their belief assumptions, in their submissiveness to their gods and tin gods, because they must find their own way to the truth, and it is only when they turn to the truth and they achieve victory over their false belief that you can teach them and help them onto the path of the truth, so that they may bring themselves healing cognition from their knowledge of the truth, and become ones who are knowing of the truth. If rage rises up in you against the servants of gods and servants of tin gods, then banish, drive out the rage in you, and choose forgiveness in yourselves, so that you do rightfully and are attached to follow the laws and recommendations of the fertilization of life creation. Never assume that you have been abandoned by the laws and recommendations of the primal power creation, because you do not recognize them or do not understand them, because if you turn yourselves to them and do not conduct strife against them, do not set yourselves against them, then they will become trusted friends to you if you become knowledgeable, conscious of them, and you know what you are doing. The servants of gods and servants of tin gods are, however, unable to recognize, see, the laws and recommendations of the fertilization of life creation in their submissiveness, because they testify against it creation through their belief assumptions in their gods and tin gods, and truly the deeds of the servants of gods and servants of tin gods are in vain, so they burn in the fire of their false belief assumptions, and cannot liberate themselves from it. Those amongst you who are connected to the teaching of truth, the teaching of spirit, the teaching of life, you shall be an ideal to all in following and fulfilling the laws and recommendations of the primal power creation, so that you are a sign evidence to the ones who are knowing of the truth that they do not have to be afraid of the truth if they find the right path. As people of your kind, human beings, you are all the same. You have the same rights and conscientiousness duties. Therefore the one is no more than another, and all people of your kind, human beings, are integrated into the unfolding evolution of your inner world consciousness. So you are also integrated into fallibility's errors that you commit and learn from them in order to give enough consideration to the unfolding evolution. Do not assume that you can spread the teaching of truth of the true laws and recommendations of the fertilization of life creation, as is presented through the true prophets, by means of battles, wars, or in any other way through give out terror and coercion, because truly you only take the highest level in this and make again success if you fulfill your deeds of teaching in accordance with the laws and recommendations of the primal power creation, and so you act out of love alone and heed freedom and peace as well as consonance harmony. Spread the joyful message of the teaching of truth, the teaching of spirit, the teaching of life in a peaceful way amongst all those who open their ears to it and want to learn. Never attempt to draw attention to the teaching of truth with give out terror, just as you shall also not represent the teaching with the sword or with other weapons of dangerousness and killing, but rather only in true love and equitableness, fairness, in peace and freedom, so that a consonance harmony is given and that delight and permanent happiness may arise.